In the words of my guest, she had the classic Hollywood upbringing in a beautiful but broken home. There followed a star role in Star Wars and the obligatory going off the rails with drugs and divorce. Now she says she's a single parent with a dysfunctional family all of her own. How is she now? Carrie Fisher, very warm welcome to the programme. And welcome to London.
Thank you.
You used to say that you'd move here.
I would love to live here, but I have to get sort of clearance from my ex because we share custody with my daughter. And, you know, so I would not want to take my daughter away from her father. I grew up without a father, so.
Listening to those words which you said of yourself in a BBC documentary a short time ago, it sounds as though you can almost stand back from your life and look at it as an outsider.
Well, it would be, it's much better to stand back from it than sort of, you know, find yourself in the middle of it all the time. From bits of my life, you know, it's better to stand back from it. The obligatory going off the rails, did you say?
Yes,
I like that that's obligatory now. Yes, I've done that a couple of times, but I've done non-obligatory things as well.
Does the fact that you played Princess Leia in Star Wars, does that still follow you around?
I guess so. You just brought it up.
People stop you in airports, people stop you in the street.
They'll sometimes even call me Princess Leia, which you want to say, how dumb do I look? Well, and then you wouldn't want to hear the answer to that, but actually they'll say, Princess Leia, like I'll go, yeah, oh, you know.
Do you like it?
It's all right. If I didn't like it, it would set me up for a bad life. So yeah, it's nice, and it's nice for kids. It's nice for my kid.
When you were 19, you said you didn't know how to be famous, did you?
Well, did I say that? I certainly probably had a better idea than most people, given that I watched my parents as closely as I could. So, but you
Debbie
never
Reynolds
know.
and Eddie Fisher.
I think that's who they are. Oh no, is it them? How awful. You mean they bred and had children and, oh no. Wait till I tell my brother. You know, I didn't know. I don't think you ever know how to be famous. There's no sort of school that prepares you for it, and it's different in any era, so.
And when you could go to any toy store in the land and see plastic dolls of you, what does that do to someone at the age of 19?
Very
20?
pleasant. Well, it's very pleasant now. I'm a Pez dispenser, and I couldn't be more proud to see my head flip back and a thing come out of my neck. That, you know, they don't have to get permission for me to do these things.
And do the money does it
I
throw
don't
you
get
off
money. I signed my likeness away, which is a very vampiric thing to do.
But you got quite a bit of money out of the Star Wars trilogy, didn't you?
Yeah, well, none of it's left now, so I have to sort of make a living at writing. But yes, I did. I mean, I have no reason to complain about anything, except these shoes.
They look all right to me.
Painful.
There were tours. They must have been enormous fun, weren't they? Going out on tour, doing the press tours, and then running off to the amusement parks.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, you know, I'm someone that comes away with sort of hideous anecdotes about Harrison and Mark.
Oh, do share them.
Oh yes, I will. As soon as we go off, I'll tell you. No,
what was hideous
we grew
about
up
them?
together. I mean, what we did, we became famous together. So you do get sort of tired of talking about it. But we sort of launched into the public eye at the same time. So the difficulty was, I thought Harrison did so well at it. I was 20, and he was 33 or 4 when the film came out. And Harrison was really good at doing interviews. He'd taken philosophy in college, so he would quote philosophers liberally in his interviews. And so I wanted to do that. So when I got back from the junket, I got tutored in philosophy so that I could, you know, quote philosophers when referring to Harrison.
You had a huge crush on him.
I did. Well, I started a trend, didn't I?
Unrequited?
I hope so. Would I tell you if it wasn't? Yes, absolutely. Look at him. Does he look like he would have a crush on me?
How hideous were these things that you went through with him?
No, nothing was really hideous. I mean, really, I was sort of post-adolescent, so, you know, my sort of emotional world was much more raw than anybody else's. It still is.
It sounds as though you had a lot of fun with him.
We did.
I mean, you were amazed at the queues, the lines outside the movie theaters.
We used to drive by and look at them.
And think, how did we ever get to be so famous?
Yes, I don't even know you could even ask that question. You couldn't get that question. It was just so surreal. Not that I wasn't, I was quite used to surreal anyway, though.
What's the legacy of Star Wars for you, do you think?
Oh, I get to have a very young mother, which I haven't had since I was very young. So that's nice. I have no idea. My daughter carries around a folder of Princess Leia, and it follows me around forever. Bad hair, weird clothes, no brassieres. I mean, there's not, I don't know. It would be very difficult to encapsulate what it all was.
They thought at 7 stone that you were too heavy, didn't they? Mm-hmm. Must have been a shock.
No, it wasn't a shock.
You had to lose weight for that?
I always thought I was too heavy, though. I mean, I had that thing where I looked in the mirror and saw this giant bowl of oatmeal with features, I used to call my face. So I completely agreed with them. I was too heavy.
Stardom came at about the age of 2 hours, didn't it, for you?
I don't have a clear memory of that, but they tell me. I've seen the pictures, yeah.
This was Life magazine.
Well, you know, the Africans believe that when you're photographed, it steals your soul. So by that reckoning, I never had one. Maybe I'll get it back through the same process.
What were the assumptions made about who you were going to be because your parents were Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher?
Well, it was assumed that I would go into show business and that I would go into nightclub work, which I did do. I did in this country.
But what about school?
I dropped out of school, but please don't tell my daughter. But I didn't drop out. It wasn't sort of a thud. It was more of a slide. I sort of dropped subject, like littering the trail of school where I'd been with subjects. The last to drop was English. But then I went to drama college in this country. So I have a smattering of an education, I suppose.
First of all, you were with your mother in her nightclub acts in Vegas. What was that like?
Well, you know, the difficulty about that stuff is what you want to do as a child, what I wanted to do, and I gather from a lot of people, is you want to fit in. And that did not enable me to fit in, that I was doing nightclub work on my holidays as opposed to sort of skiing and stuff. So it made me different. And also, doing nightclub work in front of audiences, if I made any mistake, I would just beat myself up, horrible pounding. So,
but it made you fit in with your mother's world, though, didn't it?
Yeah, but my mother's world was, you know, quarter of a century older than me. So yes, it did make me fit into that. But I was sort of lost in between all the worlds. I was decidedly without a generation.
And is that when therapy started? Feeling that you were without a generation?
No, absolutely not. That would be way too indulgent. Therapy started when I was 15. I'm manic depressive. So that's when manic depression onsets. My mother was going through a bad period and I needed to talk to an adult. So I went to therapy, and I was not diagnosed as manic depressive until I got to a proper psychiatrist, which was when I was 24.
How well aware were you of your mother's unhappiness? I mean, she said she never had any taste for men. She always chose the wrong men. She blamed herself for all that.
Oh, the bad taste. I was aware of my mother's bad taste at 14. Yeah, 14, she told me that the latest husband was cheating on her, had spent all her money. So she told me that when I was 14. That was astonishing.
That was a lot to lay on you.
Well, I remember she said, you know, I can tell you because you're the strong one and your brother is the open wound. And I thought, oh, no, you completely got that wrong, please. Yes, it was a lot. But you know what? At the end of the day, I was the strong one. I mean, perhaps my strength was based out of my weakness, but, you know, we do grow into those roles that our parents assign us.
Never much of a relationship with your father? I mean, he left at the age of 2, but you haven't spoken in years, have you?
No, I have spoken to him in years. I've stopped speaking to him now. But I didn't see him much growing up. I was completely in love with my father. I mean, he had this great voice, he was charming, you know. So it's very painful that I didn't have a proper father-daughter relationship with him. I had this sort of, like, I knew he was my father, but he wasn't like a parent. He wasn't somebody I would go to in trouble, or quite the opposite. He would come to me when he was in trouble.
For a long time, though, you were estranged from him, weren't you?
No, I wasn't. Now I am, because he's written this book. And the book, I think, is quite embarrassing.
Embarrassing or hurtful to
Both.
you and your mother?
I mean, to have one's parent discussing the sex life of, you know, it's in such bad taste. It's just not done.
You feel embarrassed about it?
Well, I was hurt because I said, don't do it, don't say this stuff about, you know, don't do it, and he did. I said, if you do it, I'm not going to be able to speak to you, and so it was all, you know, he knew what he was risking. None of his children speak to him right now.
You said you didn't have much confidence in your acting abilities early on.
I don't think I was a confidence maven. That wasn't really my middle name. I was confident in my verbal acuity. It's interesting to make a mistake verbally when you say that. But I was not confident as an actor. I was confident as a personality, and if my personality fit into a role I was playing, then fine. I didn't like how I looked, so I didn't like seeing myself on screen or even imagining how I would look. But if I could keep away from that idea, then it was all right.
People have talked about the drugs, and you've talked about the drugs that were used on the set of Star Wars.
No, I've never talked about the drugs that were used on the set of Star Wars. Some guy who wrote a book about Star Wars who never knew any of us or spoke to any of us. No, I mean, that would also make George a moron, that we were all doing drugs on the set of Star Wars. Certainly I did drugs when I was younger, but I don't recall doing them in the Death Star.
Tell me about a nice evening you had with Eric Idle once on the Rolling Stones.
Well, I wrote
in
that
London.
one down. That was not on the Death Star, though. We drank, and we drank what we call the Tunisian table cleaner, because he'd had it on Life of Brian. And Harrison and I got very drunk with Eric, and then we went straight to work. And so we were still inebriated on the set.
This is something he'd brought back from Tunisia.
Yeah, they would give it
paint
to the
stripper.
extras to get them to be compliant.
So somehow it set you up, that you were able to
It's the
go
only
without-
scene in the 3 films where we're smiling.
And Eric is kind of pleased at his
He's
contribution.
very pleased, as he should be.
The Rolling Stones were there that night as well?
I think they were
apparently?
there earlier on. They peeled off. That's what Eric used to do, is I was renting his house, and yet he'd come in and stay there. And I'd hear noises downstairs, and I'd have a 5:30 call, and I'd go downstairs, and all of the Rolling Stones would be there. So at that point, one didn't want to go to sleep.
What was it like, those occasions like that?
It was great.
What do you remember about them? What sticks in your
I
mind?
remember that Charlie Watts didn't have a lot of facial expressions. Jerry was very nice. I mean, Ron Wood was very nice. You know, you meet really interesting, great people. And I met them quite early on. And I felt a little bit out of my league, certainly, but I was willing to try.
And Mick Jagger?
Very nice. I've spent more time with him lately, and he's very nice.
You married Paul Simon.
Did I?
In
Oh my
1983.
God, why didn't you tell me? What happened? How did it turn out?
How did it turn out?
Oh, well, I guess I'm not with him anymore. Fine. I get along very well with all my exes now.
Was marriage the wrong thing to do?
Yes. We were
Why?
much better. Well, because I think if you look at me, at the most you could think I'm an interesting girlfriend, but a wife, I think you're going to be disappointed if you're looking across at me at a breakfast table and
Why?
I made the eggs.
Why?
Well, I'm actually good at making scrambled eggs.
Yeah, so why would a man be
I don't know.
disappointed?
I'm not.
Why make that assumption?
My role models for marriage are bad. Both sides. My parents have been married, I think, 7 or 8 times between them. So I didn't have a lot of faith in the, marital vows, I guess. But Paul and I were a good idea in an area. I mean, we were both very verbal, and we both had a very odd relationship with the English language. And it was odd in a similar way.
Why was it odd with the English language?
Cadences, constant use of puns, and, bizarre. I used to call it the secret handshake of shared sensibility.
So you had fun together?
We had everything together. It was an actual relationship. So we had fun was one of the things we had. We also had a hard time on other times.
And Brian Lord, the father of Billy?
He's arrived here in London today. So we'll all be out this evening. I get along extremely well with him. I get along extremely well with both of them.
Why didn't that one work?
Well, he's gay, as it turned out.
You didn't know that?
He forgot to mention it. Didn't come up, but so to speak. No, I did not know that.
How much did that hurt?
No, that was awful. That was awful. And all these, these have been relationships dissolving, whatever the reason, is unpleasant. So, that's just another betrayal. It's a difficult one. But I don't think any betrayals are easy.
Sounds in a way as if you've sort of almost lived life on a tightrope, and things knock you off from time to time, and you've turned to drugs. I think you called them your islands of relief.
Well,
at one point.
You know what, though? I mean, it is so that I'm manic depressive. It is so that 60% of all manic depressives self-medicate, either with alcohol or drugs. It is so that I've ended up in a mental hospital, which is not de rigueur. I mean, this is not what people conventionally do in Hollywood. And that was not because of drugs. That was because I had a psychotic manic episode due to manic depression. So whether I would have probably, yes, been a drug addict in any event, but it certainly gave me a real edge to be a drug addict given my chemical imbalance. Bipolar, manic depressive, whatever you want to call it.
Have you come close to killing yourself?
I've thought about it, but not really, no. I've thought about it. It was very, very unpleasant. And then, when I ended up in the hospital, I lost my mind. I don't say that lightly.
How do you mean you lost your mind?
I had a psychotic break, which means you feel this horrible thing coming. You have no idea what it is.
A sense of impending doom?
It's beyond doom. You feel you're dying. I was trying to think that could I outlast my death was a thought that I had in there. I thought if I fell asleep, I would die, and if I stayed awake, I would die. I stayed awake for 6 days. And I ended up in lockup. And everything, losing your mind is truly, truly horrible. Once it's gone, it's fine.
How do you get it back?
Time.
And a very hard program of rehabilitation you've been through?
Well, I was an outpatient in a mental hospital for 5 months. I have therapy that I hardly need therapy anymore. It's been, 28 years, I think, that I've been in therapy. But I like it, like getting my teeth cleaned. I should probably do that a bit more. But when I'm on medication now for manic depression, and you know what they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? What about what kills you? Because that killed me. I died to the way all this is.
I think you said it didn't make you stronger. It showed up how weak and vulnerable you actually were.
I'm stronger now. I'll forget all that. This is
You've been through that.
No, what it taught me was the difference between a problem and an inconvenience. And I have not had that many problems in my life. I've been very lucky that way. But that mental hospital thing was a problem. Another time I had a problem when I thought Billy had asthma, and we had to go to the hospital. I thought she was going to die, so that was a problem.
A big one.
Yeah.
Postcards from the Edge. Did that make you look at your life in a different way?
You know, no. I mean,
An actress coming back from rehabilitation, trying to claw back her life.
I've been trying to, I always seem to be coming back from something, you know. No, I mean, I'd written that now is, what, 13 years ago, lucky 13. All of it makes me look at my life, and I'm awfully tired of looking at my life. It's true. I would rather live it than look at it all the time.
You're spending more time living it these days.
Yeah, well, I'd rather lead a life than follow one around.
Is that how it felt for a long time?
Oh, yeah. I was driven and I didn't know who was driving.
And now you do. Your family back in the driving seat?
Yes, but given that that was possible, the thing that happened in the hospital there, where I didn't sleep for 6 days, it's not a distinct possibility, but it is a possibility for me. So I know what the odds are now. So I actually have a good time pretty much all the time now.
You're very, very happy, I think you described yourself.
I'm like a Hallmark card. I'd go skipping down the street. It's just ill-making.
You still acting from time to time?
Right now I am. Didn't you notice? I'm in Scream 3, which
I
is
meant outside
very
the studio.
thrilling. Yes, I still act like once a day to keep my SAG dues alive.
But writing is really
That's what I do, yeah.
your passion. But it's gone from inclination to obligation now, hasn't it?
A lot of things have. Yes.
Does it feel like,
Although not
hard
anymore.
work?
I'm telling you, after the hard work was what I did in the hospital. Everything I do now is not a problem.
Tell me about those old broads.
Oh, well, they're going to make that. But they're making it as
You've
a
written the
television
screenplay.
movie. Yeah. So they're going to make it as a television movie with my mother, with Elizabeth Taylor, I think with
Shirley MacLaine?
I think so, yeah. They wouldn't, you know, in terms of making a feature, it's like, you know, Shirley says it's like ageism and stuff, you know, where Hollywood is really, they do more films about younger people, so.
How is your mother these days?
My mother is fantastic. She's fantastic and looks fantastic.
And you
It's her birthday tomorrow. I sent her a silver picture frame from here. That's what she collects.
And you're still very loyal to her, aren't you?
I love my mother.
You're a good child. You're a loyal child.
I'm a good child. My daughter's a good child. We're just sickening, our family. No, we're a matriarchy, so, you know, my mother and my daughter get along very well. My daughter's taking tap dancing now. You know what Jung said? What does a grandmother and a granddaughter or a grandparent and a grandchild have in common?
What?
They share a common enemy.
Carrie Fisher, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you very much. Thank you.